Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast with Nitin Mahajan with us today. He's co-founder and CEO at Brand Booster and Quick Ads, also an investor, operator, ex-McKinsey partner. We're going to talk about AI today, VC, MarTech, advertising, digital marketing, and everything in between. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. That's my podcasting company. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts like this one. Through AI, I developed some pretty badass system to monetize your podcast, and I would love to help you scale your pod and monetize it because a bunch of people start a podcast yet never go on with it because there's no money. So I bring the ikigai in the equation, getting you money, getting you paid, getting you some good fun, doing what you love, which is talking to other humans about what you like what I'm doing with Nitin today. Nitin, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about your company.
Hello, and good. Thank you for listening and thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm starting with chapter 3 of my life. Chapter 1 was about building technology products. So I used to be a tech lead and a product manager. Started the first company in 2005. Realized that technology is not a Pennica on its own. It has to be multidisciplinary. So that's what I started the chapter 2 of my life, which is about applying technology to solve business problems. So that's when I went to the dark side of strategy consulting, was a partner at McKinsey and then led Accenture's P&L in the region. And now starting chapter 3, which is about combining the chapter 1 and 2, which is about deep down technology, AI in this case, with some business fundamentals to try and build some bootstrapped businesses, try and inspire a different wave of businesses. That's what we are doing at 88 Ventures. So we invest, but we try and invest in businesses which are going to become self-sustainable in a short period of time. They're not 0-1 game like a classical VC institutional money, which bets big, loses big, or wins big. We are trying to say that, listen, there are other type of businesses which can be like micro SaaS or businesses which have a much shorter path to visibility, or let's just say less hallucination, thanks to the powers of and the reinvention because of Gen AI. That's what we are building out here. Quick Ads and Brand Booster and Social Sense are first few products coming out of the portfolio.
What led you to change chapters in your life? Because to me, it seems looking at your LinkedIn, you were in the corporate life, you were having a nice salary. What led you to be like, enough, I will forego the salary, I'll take more risks, even if I have a family to feed? What led you to turn that chapter page?
If you ask my wife, she will say midlife crisis. Listen, once in a lifetime, you get an opportunity to be part of something that you truly believe in. For me, that was a Gen AI moment. After tinkering around for a few weeks and few months, building some prototypes, I felt convinced, at least, that this is a truly once in a decade opportunity. This is different. This is different than many other tech waves which have come and gone. This is same as perhaps the cloud movement, the iPhone movement. So I just wanted, and I felt so convinced, and I felt that it's the right time to jump in and use the intersection of tech and business knowledge to build something different. Number 2, again, I genuinely feel in capital efficient businesses, felt like the right time to reinvent myself and the industry by showing the businesses can be much smaller in nature, thanks to Gen AI. And the examples in front of us. I mean, OpenAI was 200 plus people till last year. Stable Diffusion was 20 plus people and doing like a couple of $100 million in revenue now. So a lot of big, great businesses can be built with much smaller teams out there. So let's go out and inspire those people. Let's try and learn ourselves how to do it and be part of a change and be part of a transformation out there.
What led you to see and feel that there was a revolution? On my side, it was just chatting with ChatGPT as a brainstorming partner. I call them a brain sparring partner. It's like a boxing match, and you throw ideas, they throw back ideas at you, and getting insights out of it more than I had with talking with pretty much anyone. You know, I could use it in the bed at night if I wanted, or on the top of a mountain that I just climbed and feeling inspired. So that was my aha moment when it came to AI. What was yours?
That's a good point. I think if you look at the history, cost of storage went down with cloud, cost of compute went down with AWS services, I felt after interacting with GPT-2 and then GPT-3 that cost of intelligence is coming down. And if you think about it, while technology has impacted us for 100, 200 years in a meaningful way, this is different because this is the first time it's not about the cost of building a business is coming down. It's about cost of intelligence is becoming significantly lower, democratizing, and by Metcalfe's law, going to get lower and lower. So if you're headed towards AGI, the moment you interact and you start realizing if you're headed towards AGI, new products, new business models, but just a fundamentally different way humanity gets impacted is going to be created out there. Let's take real life examples. If you ask any marketeer out there, and I come with a lot of background in 2 years in sales and marketing for different industries, it's funny, but if you ask the marketeers for a large company or even an e-commerce client, they will tell you univocally 75% of times the biggest bottlenecks is creatives. Just getting the creatives, making the ad copy, making a social media post, making a video, be it a $5 million company or be it a $100 million company or $1 billion in revenue. It is the same pain point. And then you wonder why. And I guess the answer is Adobe is great, but it's a tool. It's not an end-to-end workflow. And there is no power or control despite best efforts. Even Canva, I would argue, in many respects, is still a scary tool for many small business owners out there. So that's when you realize that with generative AI, when you are generating stuff, you're just describing stuff. Like you said, you were chatting with someone and interacting and inspiring. The other application of that in marketing where you're able to describe what you want and get something out. You don't have to sit around filled with hundreds and 200 settings in Adobe to get a good looking photo out and still not be sure if it's a high impact, aesthetically pleasing ad or not. That to me is a game changer moment, because then you realize that the biggest bottlenecks in the industries which are services led, be it marketing, be it any kind of a creative work, be it customer service, things which were still very service and people oriented because it's subjective, it cannot be automated. You suddenly start realizing that with neural networks, you're not following a rules-based order. The neural networks are learning on their own. They're only going to get better and better. And you start applying it to niche workflows, and you suddenly start freeing up so much human capacity to do genuinely good thinking work and leave a lot to the machines out there. This is the true promise of what machines were supposed to do, perhaps. In some ways scary, but in some ways hopeful optimism that it will create a lot of opportunities which will be held back by the human labor, the service cost element, which was significantly impacting those industries.
Right. And as a former consultant, what edge do you feel that you have vs other Gen AI founders?
I thought you were going to say a lot of baggage, but listen, it is not about the size of the dog. It's the spirit of the fight in the dog which matters ultimately in any startup, to be honest. So it is not about who I am or what I know. Those are good things to have on the table. But I'll be honest with you, the moment you land, it's very easy to be a spectator in an arena and comment and shout and say, hey, you could do this better. Hey, throw this ball better. Hey, you don't know what you're doing. But the moment you are in the arena, the moment you are an entrepreneur, yes, your knowledge is a little bit of a head start, but after the first few weeks, it's you have to reinvent yourself. You have to learn to the customers very closely. So being a consultant, first of all, as I said, the first chapter of my life was about building tech products. So I think a combination of understanding technology and being able to appreciate the business nuance of it is what perhaps gives you a starting point. But then again, you have to win every day. Nothing comes easy when you're an entrepreneur. Number two, go ahead, sorry, you're asking something?
You go with two. Let's hope that it's a 3-item checklist.
You're right. So you have a starting point of being able to appreciate the technology applied to the business nuance. Like, hey, I know about this industry. I know that these type of customers could be genuinely appreciating a change in a workflow or appreciating a niche problem-solving solution like that. That's the starting point. And being able to know what technology can and cannot do, at least at a conceptual level, gives you a right direction to start into. But second, most importantly, is there is so many opportunities. How do you, in a structured way, do your go-to market? Which segments do you go after? How do you build sustainably a flywheel out there? Because when you're in a large consulting firm, you're part of a very large flywheel already. Things are working. You have to just get onto the flywheel. You see, the machine is working. You have to be part of the machine. You have to understand their culture. The sales pipeline is already built up. You have a brand name and a reputation. You have to start all of that all over again when you are a young entrepreneur trying to build its own startup out there. You have to earn and fight for every dollar out there. So while it's daunting, but it also gives you a structured process to appreciate, listen, this is not going to work. This may work. For this to work, this are the few things which have to be qualified before you put in resources out there. I'll give you a simple example. It's very exciting to go do community marketing, do every kind of marketing channel out there. But in reality, that's not the right thing to do. You have to be very structured about what you do in the first 100 days and in the next 6 months after that. Those things come a little bit of a pattern recognition that you can learn by being a serial entrepreneur or by observing what you have done it for other clients and seen it as an investor. So those are the two things which come to mind. Sorry, I'm not going to give you the third one.
Love it. Give me on my questions and the missing puzzle piece here. I want to hear from you the dog analogy. Like, where did you get that fight in you? Like, where you get that feistiness and that hustle?
Oh, that's a deep personal question. I'll give you an honest answer. If you asked me also what was also a turning point moment, or when I finally decided to take the plunge. Some personal things happened, but I was also listening to a podcast by Sequoia Venture Capitals, one of the founders, and he said, listen, when he's thinking of investing in an entrepreneur, he spends the first 1 or 2 meetings just trying to understand him as a person. And his pattern recognition and I respect him for his pattern recognition for 2-3 decades of investing in entrepreneurs and seeing entrepreneurs, is that you have to have that hunger. You have to have something that you want to prove to the world. It's not always perhaps accurate, but it's a good enough correlation and a causation out there. That hunger to prove something to the world is not about what your current title is, but you always see the world as a glass half empty. You always want to prove to the world that I have a different point of view, or I'd look at things differently. And entrepreneurship is a channel pathway to do that. And to do that, he spends a lot of time trying to understand their childhood. That ran immediately hearing that podcast, which is on Spotify for anybody who wants to listen to that. And I've shared with a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs saying, listen, you don't have to believe in it, but the world's best investors are saying what happened to you in your childhood, which is causing that insecurity, that insecure overachiever behavior often, which is motivating you to look at the world very differently out there. The world is going on with or without us. They don't need another startup out there. But what is that you look so differently and so passionately that you will continue working whole night and still take a podcast interview in the morning and still want to try to prove to the world that there is something different and something wrong with the world out there. And which in my case, honestly, if I look back on my childhood, I don't know what happened, but I was always trying to do things differently. I used to play table tennis at a state level because somebody didn't let me play table tennis when I was a kid. So to prove them wrong, I started playing. And I realized I have an actual genuine love for it. So I went deep into it. Same thing happened with hacking. I used to be an ethical hacker before becoming professionally an engineer. Because I felt like I wanted to prove that I can do it better, smarter, faster than others out there. So it was that inherent DNA, which in hindsight was obvious, that I don't take no for an answer. Something happened in my childhood where I'm trying to prove to the world that, listen, no, I exist. I need to have a status of my own. I want to prove something. It is maybe a fundamentally wrong personality to have. And that is why the 1% of entrepreneurs are born crazy. You can't create an entrepreneur. You have it in you. It just gets sharpened over time. Is something that I have realized over the last 40 years now.
Right. I'm also constantly chasing, and I have an immense hunger or thirst. I always put more in my plate than I can actually eat. But this whole process is actually fun. Do you have fun? I'm like a happy dog chasing something, like, do you have fun on your side, or it's mostly pain, scarcity, and stress driven?
Listen, it's a combination of both. I think as a founder, as a CEO, you have scars on your back every day, every week. The process is meant to sharpen you. Am I the same as what I was 6 months back, 2 years back? The answer is no. I'm evolving every day, realizing how it works, how to inspire people, how to. But as a CEO, I feel like there are different leadership styles. So I believe in transparent leadership in the sense that, yes, you have scars on your back. You will not lie to your team. You will distill the information in a meaningful way. But at the same time, you have to make it fun and an enjoyable process. That I'll say is definitely a work in progress. The high stress environment when you are in the early stages of a company, you're still trying to find your product market fit. That's the toughest part. That's where you need people in the same room. That's where I would say being remote is really, really challenging. So I think all the people now going back to offices and saying, listen, for pre-product market fit companies, remote is a taboo. I'm beginning to feel that may be correct actually. So that is the tough part, to be in the same room and create that spirit when you're pre-PMF and have fun, because fun comes when you are in the trenches together, when you're in the war zone together, when you feel and celebrate the successes together. Feel and celebration over Zoom has been tough. I'll be open about that.
To me, it like feels so natural because I grew up playing video games, World of Warcraft, and always been online, but yeah, I understand that physical is way better and it's more hustle. It's like, yeah, we work in the same room, share the same air for more than a day. So what other challenges have you faced since that you started the startup 3 years-ish ago? Was COVID hard for you?
So we started Quick Ads Brand Booster as part of 88 Ventures only 4 or 5 months back. It's not 3 years ago. No, but in the last 3 or 4 months, because we are coming off the Gen AI hype, actually. So I think we are in a way, the hype cycle, one could argue, was late last year. Q4, Q1 was the hype cycle. And since then, reality is sinking in. In fact, the churn rates on AI apps, is public data out there, is higher than the normal consumer tech or SaaS apps out there. So if you think about it, actually, a lot of things are tough for the industry right now. There is not much enough money out there for people who are especially in Series A, Series B. There is a lot of skepticism on AI apps saying, listen, you're coming off the hype. We don't know who's going to survive. But I'll be honest, the biggest challenge out there is the platform risk, because the speed of innovation with which OpenAI, Microsoft, Shopify, Amazon, etc. are innovating and bringing features to the market is unprecedented, and it's only going to get velocity is only going to get higher. So I think that's what I feel like when I speak to young founders. They feel like it's very easy to say find a niche opportunity somewhere out there, but the noise in the market, when the fact that companies can be very small in nature, the entry cost and the barriers are very so low, the moats are also questionable out there. So I think that's where it's going to keep a lot of us up in the night and keep us hungry and foolish.
How much do you spend time in the VC realm vs managing Brand Booster as per se?
I don't allocate time. I think it's about opportunities as they come. So as I said, we are trying to build a very clear set of small stuff inside, which helps us learn, but also build this new model, which is all about marketing solutions for small businesses, especially e-commerce sellers. That's what we are trying to build in-house. These 2-3 companies, Quick Ads, Brand Booster, etc., are targeted towards that. Everything outside of that is for investments review. I would say something around 50-50, because I do have a lot of people who are helping me build this current stuff. So I'm still able to spend a lot of time on investments. But here is a fun fact for you. One of the biggest, most respectable VC firms, Founders Fund, actually pretty much doesn't have any full-time GPs, general partners. Pretty much all their general partners, people who make investment decisions and source deals, are actually part-time. So Delian runs a rocket company. One of their other GPs is running a fitness studio. If they can do it at that scale, then I want to really challenge everybody out there saying you should only be a investor and you should not try and build a startup in parallel. I would say why? In fact, Founders Fund has returned half their capital a few months back to their LP saying the market is overvalued. If for the leading fund, Founder Fund, they can be doing that, I think there's a lot for us to learn.
What do your 2024 objective boards look like for now?
I think three things. Number one is to be the fittest dad ever. So I'm turning 45 next year, and I think I need to get serious about health and fitness. I'll be open about it, and everything revolves backwards from what your goals are. So fittest dad ever in 40s is the first thing. Second is try and get to profitability. So we have a benchmark that try and get to profitability within 6 months of launching. So I think that landmark is coming up in Q1, Q2. So getting ready, rating our companies to that. If you're able to do that, I think then I would have known, is my crazy enough new business model working or not working? Those are the two main things. And third is every year I try and pick up a new hobby. So deciding what hobby to pick up next year.
Love it. Nitin, where can people find out more about you?
Just reach out to me directly. I'm always available. Nitin@quickads.ai is the fastest way to reach me. I promise to respond within 24 to 48 hours of any emails I get. Otherwise, you can always find me on LinkedIn. Nitin Mahajan 2 should be the handle on LinkedIn.
I was another CEO Wisdom Podcast.com with Charles Cormier as your host and Nitin Mahajan.